back, everybody. Dr. Derek here, and this is our next video in our fasting series. Today, we're going to talk about 5-2 fasting. You may not know what that means. I'll explain it. That's what the video is for. So, 5-2 fasting is spending 5 days of the week eating food and 2 days of the week fasting. So let's dive a little bit deeper into the different kind of combinations and permutations that can look like. For the most part, we want people to be sticking to their normal low carbohydrate diet with intermittent fasting during this period of time. So that means during those 5 days, they are still narrowing their window of eating, usually to about 8 hours. And during the time they're eating, they're also eating a low carbohydrate diet. Watch the previous videos on low carbohydrate diets for a successful fast and implementing intermittent fasting. So to go deeper into 5-2, what this generally means is those 5 days we're eating as we want to, okay? And then we choose 2 days of the week to do fast, meaning after dinner on that last day, the next full day we don't eat, and then the next day after that we'll have our kind of first meal in our intermittent fasting timing window. So there's a few ways to do this. This can be straight no calorie day, meaning we kind of emphasize simply herbal teas, water, maybe some bone broth if we need to. Yes, I realize there's a small amount of calories in broth, relax. It can also be a calorie restricted day, because a lot of times when we're doing a 5-2, we're doing this every single week. So it's not just I'm going to do a 5-2 once a quarter. I mean, it's certainly better than not doing it, but this is a strategy in which we'll often have a weekly routine set up. And so with that, if we're going to be doing this routinely, sometimes we don't necessarily need to do a 0 calorie day, but actually just a calorie restricted day, still following the low carbohydrate diet. 500 calories is generally where we'll set the bar for folks doing a 5-2 fast routinely. The next question is, well, do we spread those 2 days out, or do we put them back to back? Ball's kind of in your court. Obviously, if we put them back to back, that's going to be a more intense fast. If we spread them out, it's going to be less intense. Is one going to be more beneficial? The data is probably not there to support one way or the other, though we do know that generally the longer we do these fasts, the more kind of metabolic, physiological impact they have. So we can probably be sure that if we put those 2 days back to back, we're going to have a stronger fast. So if we're entertaining putting those 2 fasts back to back, this is also where a calorie restriction instead of a kind of 0 calorie fast can be more helpful. If we're going to go, say, take Saturday and Sunday and we're not going to, eat normally over the weekend, simply cutting down those calories to 500 can make this a little bit more of a sustainable entry point into doing a 5-2. If we're going to, say, split those 2 days up, maybe we have enough, experience of fasting under our belt that we can go through those 2 24-hour periods and it's not a problem at all. So those tend to be the combinations I'll recommend for certain patients when we're talking about 5-2 fasting. I found that the back-to-back situation with the calorie restriction is more doable, certainly, for a lot of folks than 0 calories, but certainly we're going to get a more powerful treatment if we keep the caloric content to 0 or pretty darn close to 0. Suggestions apply, as we talked about with the 24-hour fast. This is where it's helpful to have herbal teas around, helpful to have bone broth around, making sure we're staying hydrated to try to reduce some of those hunger pangs. And we can even dive into using ketones as a potential supplement to help with energy, or if we're feeling a little faint. That's not an unreasonable supplement to add in during this time. When we're starting to extend fast past that 24-hour period, some people will get things like muscle cramps. Magnesium could be helpful for that. Some salt can be helpful in that respect as well. And so certain people will need a little bit of extra support to do that more comfortably. This is why we always kind of recommend being overseen by a doc if we're going to be doing any fasting, simply because there are certain individual challenges that can come up during that time. And this is why I work with my patients pretty closely when they're going to be doing some fasting, so that we can make sure these things go as smooth as possible. Remember, the whole reason we're talking about fasting is because we want to make this something that's sustainable for you. That it's not, oh, I did a fast this year and you never do one again. But it's that something that's in your toolbox, is a tool that you can lean on to, help, restore regular, physiology in your body, to help, lose weight, to help feel more energized, and to start to make sure our metabolism is running optimally. And fasting can be a valuable tool in that. So to do a quick recap of our video series so far, we started with talking about why should we fast, who should fast, what benefits can it have, what do we need to be cognizant of if we're doing one. We jumped into low carbohydrate diets as a great way to prep for a successful fast. And then we talked about implementing intermittent fasting and time-restricted eating as kind of dipping our toe in the shallow end. Our last video was about 24-hour fasts and how to do those throughout the week. And today we talked a little bit about 5-2 fasting and kind of implementing a couple of fasting days a week to more aggressively achieve our goals. In our next video, we're going to talk about a 5-day fasting mimicking diet, and this is called Prolon. This is something that I've spoken about before, and I find it a helpful tool at allowing people to safely, comfortably jump into a fast. It's got a lot of research behind it. It's got great outcomes, and I'll talk about what I love about it and talk about what I don't like so much about it. But I look forward to sharing that with you in our next video. If you have any questions about 5-2 fasting, if you've done it yourself, and you want to leave us some comments, please do. I'm always looking for feedback to understand where people's heads are at, what they're interested in hearing, and sharing your experience. So another great place that we would love to hear comments is on our Facebook page. We actually have a specific group for our patients who do fasting. If you go to our Doc Derek website, our Doc Derek Facebook page, and search for the group Revive Your Health. If you're into fasting or want to learn more or want to get some firsthand experience from some of the people who have already done it, join that group. We'd be happy to have you. There's some wonderful resources on there. There's some videos on there. And it's a place where we can just get together to all support ourselves on this journey. So I look forward to having you there. So stay tuned for our next video, and we're going to talk about the 5-day fasting mimicking diet called Prolon. The information in these videos is provided for informational purpose only. It's not intended to substitute for the advice of your doctor or other healthcare professionals. Do not use this information for diagnosing or treating any health problem or disease, and always talk with your doctor before taking any medications, nutritional supplements, implementing any fasting routines. If you suspect you have a medical problem, contact your healthcare provider. This video does not constitute a doctor-patient relationship, and no statements have been evaluated by the FDA and are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.